All right, we are live. This is very interesting. Elon, they just did a live stream explaining the XAI vision. And yesterday there were a couple XAI co-founders who left the team. So it was kind of a thing. Everybody's thinking, so what is happening? What is happening exactly over here? Are they joining something new? Were they fired? Stuff like that. That was the conversation. And today Elon is like, yeah, we went from a toddler to a bigger company, and the company required some reorg. The company now needs to move faster, and there are some other people who are better suited to do it. But yeah, like that's the reasoning over here. But anyways, this entire stream is really cool. He finally talks about like where this is all going, and how the mission has kind of changed. The kind of like the goalpost has changed from Mars to Moon first. That earlier it was all about that, hey, SpaceX is for Mars, let's go to Mars, we are gonna go to Mars. Now it's all about that, okay, first we really want to go for the orbital data centers. We're going to go for the orbital data centers, and for that we will go to the moon. So the last ending of this entire thing is pretty cool. And again, Nikita Weir comes on when he hops on the stream, and he's talking about how much X has grown and how much and now they're going to go for they're going for the biggest social media app. Some very interesting things that came out was Elon mentioned that they're gonna launch a standalone XChat app. So think about iMessage, but now it's standalone. It's your identity now across, no matter what phone you have. This is your identity now. Like even today, iMessage and like Android app, they are still doing a bunch of like weird things, but now XChat is going to be the standard thing where everybody not only has their identity, their profile, their tweets, their ideas, their thoughts, their work. That's where they get their news, but also that's where they will get their money, and that's going to become their hub for talking to other people. So I think it's pretty cool that even I have my Twitter over here in the video description. But it's interesting, I'm thinking about it, like I think X still might not be the best way to host timeless content. Yeah, like even today when XAI is coming up with these streams, nobody can just search up specifically for the stream. Nobody can just, YouTube still has that library effect, just like Netflix. Netflix has a library of content where you are going there, you're finding old content, new content, you are searching through that content. But what happens on Twitter is that you're able to search through tweets, but the interface right now is not built for searching through videos. So I think more emphasis on videos and live streams would be really cool. But yeah, so Elon mentioned about the XChat as a standalone app. He mentioned in a couple months X Money coming out, and he was talking about like how that will become the core monetization. They basically want to be the holder, the main hub where all the money is stored and exchanged between people, because people are working over there, they're using that. I think this is interesting that even the Farcaster team left Farcaster to go on Tempo, because Tempo could work. Tempo is basically stable coins. Stable coins can still operate with what Elon is building, with what Elon is building, and kind of merges into the vision. But what they were building as a competing ground would never work. I think now Farcaster is going to become more and more irrelevant, and it's very important. It's very important that as you leverage AI to really understand that where are we all going, and think about that, how can we slowly align ourselves to where everybody's going. Because I'm thinking right now about the existing team that is working on Farcaster, they are over there trying to get them to use more and stuff like that. What will slowly happen? They are slowly missing out on the meta. Or where the world is moving, and they are kind of building a community of people who are not in tune with where everybody as what like I think it's very natural that we kind of figure out that, okay, what are the places where things are moving further and faster, and where do we want to align ourselves. So that is going to become That is going to become important. That is going to become important. Still, there are many communities, many small islands and communities where you can go and where you can, where you will find your people. But it's also important now that what is globalization? Globalization is basically the fact that people are dropping the fact that hey, you and me are different. People are understanding that you and me and they and us, we're all the same. We are just humans. We have different traits and we are trying to create ourselves. We all have this consciousness thing that wants to keep us moving and keep us improving, stuff like that. So yeah, what the beauty of globalization is the fact that we have kind of made it really, we have brought the smartest minds together and helped them understand that hey, the difference that you have, the difference of where you come from is actually an advantage, is actually a character that you bring to this place, because back home you were all same, you were not different. So actually coming over here, you are leveraging your difference as an advantage, as a different perspective that you bring to your workplace, to your work, and you help improve and you help do better work. So that is interesting. I think it was very cool. Like he's basically talking about digital emulation, which is that if you are a company whose main product is digital, it should be pretty easy to make it. It should be very easy to replicate it. So we should be able to just spin it up, and that will create abundance of software, that will create abundance of creation that we are looking for. Which is very cool. I think yesterday's stream was very interesting. Yesterday's stream was very interesting because finally at the end we are like, okay, yeah, it's very important to understand that hey, you always think that you are still in the process of arriving, and you forget that no, this is it. You just stop, you just do your work, you just keep doing your work, you just keep doing your thing. You have figured out that okay, this is the thing, now just keep doing it, and that's how you keep entering that state again and again. And you just leverage work, you just leverage an activity, your work. Like I has to say, I used to, like, a person, you chop wood and carry water. Before enlightenment, you chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood, carry water. And similarly, with whatever you think the answer is, before that answer, you chop wood, carry water. After receiving that answer, you chop wood, carry water. So it's all about constantly leveraging your work to get back into that state where you are in creation mode. And that is incredibly important. And then he talks about moon base. Very interesting. Let's see.
Extra app. So if you just want to do messaging, you can do that. You don't have to go to the core product. And we'll have desktop sharing and multi-user. So your video calls with lots of people. It's really intended to be a fully functional.
These are all things. I think Grok Imagine is incredible. Grok Imagine is actually incredible. Grok Voice is something which is really good. I want Grok Voice to get better. I think Grok Voice has a couple issues right now, especially with language. I'm really using LLMs for language learning, for practicing my French, to use as a thought partner, and not even thought partner. I just want to talk. I just want to talk about random stuff. I just want to talk about random shit, and I just want to keep improving my flow, my vocabulary, my grammar, and I want to work on everything. So sometimes Grok has an issue, and maybe I don't know if that's an issue with Grok or just the fact that I am on data. I think that's also a thing. When I'm on data, suddenly these models don't really, like, ChatGPT just shuts down on data. So I don't know what's happening over there, but Grok on data might. So there are some zones. Like if I'm walking, I think, yeah, while walking, talking to these guys have become a bit difficult for me. Walking and talking to these LLMs have become a little bit difficult for me, but because it gets frustrating when you're talking to it and it doesn't understand what you're saying, and the response in a different way that loses the flow. So today what we did was I just found a beautiful place under the sun, and I'm drinking my coffee or my matcha, and I am just talking to it. I'm just like, hey, this is what I heard. This is it. And I think that's a beautiful way to just, again, you understand that what you are learning French, that means you need to learn language. and you need to talk. You need to talk about all the different words, all the different structures that you can talk about, and in different ways that you can talk about. And that is it. You just got to keep doing it. And also, you understood that you are not searching for an answer. You don't have to be searching for an answer. This is all art. You were just creating art. You were just like exploring, connecting dots. You are moving. You are creating. You are not like searching for an answer constantly. But yes, you are just in the act of creating. So yeah, you just have to be careful. You just have to, yeah, you have to like remember the distinction. You just have to like keep producing. And yeah, Grok was doing pretty good. Sometimes when you speak in French, and sometimes you speak in French, it thinks that you're speaking in English, and it tries to transcribe the closest related English words, and gets confused that, hey, what do you mean? What did you just say? What did you just say? So stuff like that happen quite a bit, but I was still able to find like certain amount of like large chunks of focus time or flow time where I was just like talking to it and talking about random shit. And like I was in a dog park and I was just like talking about random things are coming to my mind, and we were talking Bob Dylan and creativity and like songs. Like I really like this one quote, which is like, a bird doesn't sing because it has an answer. A bird sings because it has a song. And everything is like, once you realize that, okay, we went deep into all this philosophy, searching for an answer, and then you just realize that, wait, nobody has an answer. Everybody is in search of an answer. Everybody is in search of it, but nobody has an answer. Like nobody even in the past had a concrete answer. Everybody just has a way of living. And that distinction might be important. That everybody, again, I think something that we were reading about is that the process is the answer, and the thing that the seeker is seeking is gonna change him. I forgot what exactly what we were looking at, but it was very interesting, which was talking about that the answer that you are, what you want is going to be changing you, or the insight that you I forgot. I'll maybe look back into it and I'll try to find it, but it was very cool, which we came across. But basically, while going through that process of finding that insight changes you, and you adapt to that insight. So the insight, you not only have an answer, but you are also the best like ambassador of that answer, because that answer has changed you while in that process. So stuff around that. But yeah, anyways, let's go back over here.
Communication system with Extranet.
Yeah, so Grokipedia is definitely, like, I think last time we checked, Grokipedia has 6 million articles. What's the current update? Oh, it still has 6 million. Okay. And okay, it has 6 million articles, and I think Wikipedia had 60 million. So Grokipedia just needs to like 10x higher. And it's crazy, like Elon is showing these massive macro hard data centers, and the first thought that comes to your mind is, what is this macro? What are these data centers? The data centers, you need these data centers because humans are creating so many CAD images and so many images that you need these massive data centers to process all of that stuff. It's these CAD images, it's these voice conversations about random stupid shit, everything that we are doing, like the cat videos and stuff that people are producing, all the Sora stuff that is happening. This is what the work that these macro hard data centers are doing. But anyways, we have to build these massive things to get to a point where we understand, or we figure out how to make it so abundantly, so cheaply, that it doesn't even matter, because we finally would have figured it out. So yeah, like XChat is good, Grok Imagine is amazing, X Money will come soon, Grok News, they're working on that, Grok Voice. I think Grok Voice, I'm really happy that a year ago when I started French, ChatGPT voice had just come out. Advanced mode has just come out, and it was pretty good. But with French, the problem is that you don't exactly know what it's responding, because French is, you are just learning the language. French is written differently and French is spoken differently, so you don't know, like without subtitles you don't know what is happening. Then ChatGPT, months later, they came out with subtitles. Then months later they came out with this entire interaction flow. Then I started running into this issue of because most of my ideas come when I'm outside, and obviously when you are outside, when you're not like stuck, when you don't think you are stuck inside a room, that's when most of your ideas come. So I don't know why ChatGPT stopped working. Maybe there's a problem with my data or something, but that became an issue. And then Grok came in, because Grok only had English for a long time. Maybe in like late October, November, suddenly it had French. December even, maybe November, December, Grok got French, and after that I'm starting to have fun. And now it does this very beautiful thing where if you are learning a language, you can ask it in English that, hey, teach me 5 new words, teach me 5 new vocabulary, teach me this, teach me that. And it is gonna be then using both the languages together. It's gonna talk in the French accent that, hey, bonjour means good morning. So it's gonna say both of them together. And that's where we are trying to get to, where you understand that, hey, I'm learning a language. How can you teach me this language? And can you use both of these languages together? Can you talk like a bilingual person with me? And for me, I'm now trilingual, or maybe like 5, I don't know what 5 is called, a pentalingual. So can you talk to me in a way where you're using all the 5 languages together? Can you mesh all the 5 languages together? Because right now, suddenly when you say that, talk to me in French, it is swapping into a different category. It's like, okay, now French mode on, turn on a different key, turn on a different car. And then you're like, oh, go to English, no, turn on like go walk out of this car and go and turn on this car, and like, okay, run. But what we want is that no, it is just like you are someone who is bilingual. You can speak both of them, and you should be able to easily switch between both of them. That would be beautiful. Like, yeah, AI is obviously getting there. Like the work that these guys are doing, if you watch these streams, you really get an idea of what exactly is happening. And I think in just the last 1 hour, the stream went from like 4 million to 1 million. So a lot of people, 4 million to 5 million, 4 million to 5 million views. And a lot of people are watching it. They want to keep track of it, because Elon is kind of like setting the goal post for humanity right now, that where are we as humanity going?
For X20, we're actually X20 live in closed beta.
And this was just 3 hours ago.
Beta within the company, and we expect in the next month or two to go to unlimited X. And this is really intended to be the place where all the money is. The central source of the game changer, billion users, is that while monthly users are on average around 6 to 12 per billion, when this is the X app, thus that if you want to, you can live your life on the X app. And as we make it more
if you want to, you can live your life on X app.
Useful. We'll obviously give people reasons, compelling reasons to use the app every day, and have my expectations 12 per billion daily active users.
Now we're getting to SpaceX.
No. In order to
It's very interesting. I think that's very similar to like what we read yesterday, that what is the difference between Eastern philosophy and Western philosophy? Eastern philosophy is going inwards, that, hey, just go inwards to find the answer. Western philosophy is going outwards, looking at the self from outwards, and running all these experiments and building models to figure out the answer from out there. And Elon might be in that same category, where he's like, let's go out, let's really go outside, let's really go outside the earth, and let's really go outside into the space to figure out what the answer is. But maybe even after that, you will find that, hey, it's just us.
understand the universe, you must explore the universe. There's only so much you can know.
Okay, I'm actually curious. Even if let's say we find the aliens, will they have the same consciousness as humans? Now we are getting into hypotheticals of hypotheticals. Okay, let's say you found aliens. Then hypothetically, are they in the same consciousness field, or are they in a different consciousness field? Cuts right to the heart of what consciousness even is, and honestly, we don't have a satisfying answer for our own species yet alone hypothetical others a few angles worth sitting with. The substrate problem. If consciousness arises from information processing, as integrated information theory suggests, then any sufficiently complex system could be conscious. But the quality of that consciousness would be radically alien. Think about how different an octopus's distributed neural architecture produces something we would barely recognize as cognition, and that a species we share planet and evolutionary history with. Now remove all the shared biology entirely. The Nagel question still holds. Thomas Nagel's "What is it like to be a bat?" becomes infinitely harder. We can't even bridge the phenomenological gap with Earth creatures that have sonar instead of sight. An alien consciousness shaped by completely different sensory modalities, different temporal experience, maybe different relationships to individuality itself. There might be no meaningful translation between their inner experience and ours. Completely shaped by completely different sensory modalities, different temporal experience, maybe different relationships to individuality itself. The Vedantic angle you would appreciate: if consciousness is fundamental rather than emergent, closer to the Brahman concept from the Upanishads, then in some sense, yes, it would be the same consciousness just filtered through a radically different apparatus. The water is the same, the shape of the vessel is different, but that same consciousness, wow, that actually makes sense. Water, it's like water in a vessel. Consciousness is like water. Consciousness is like water. This is exactly what we kind of figured out yesterday. It's like, how's water for a fish? And a fish is like, what is water? I don't know. It doesn't know because it's constantly surrounded by it. And similarly for humans, what is consciousness? You don't know because you're constantly surrounded by it. It's such a fundamental reality, that fundamental part of you, that you don't even know what it is actually, or you don't even realize that you are actually in it. If consciousness is fundamental rather than emergent, then in some sense, yes, it will be the same consciousness, just filtered through a radically different apparatus. The water is the same, the shape of the vessel is different, but that same consciousness might be so differently expressed that calling it the same becomes almost meaningless at the experiential level. The uncomfortable possibilities that consciousness might not even be a binary thing. Maybe what we call consciousness is one specific configuration on a vast spectrum, and aliens could occupy a completely different region of that spectrum, not more or less conscious, but conscious in a way we literally lack the cognitive architecture to comprehend, like trying to explain color to someone who's never had vision, except the gap is orders of magnitude wider. The deepest irony might be this: if we do find aliens, the encounter might teach us less about their consciousness and more about the limits of our own. The mirror turns inwards, which, given your work on philosophical, you already know where the real discovery happens. Do humans and animals have the same consciousness? I think this is again interesting. Like, do humans and animals have the same consciousness? It's just like animals pretty much should. I'm guessing the answer is yes. It's just that because they don't have this one form of expression, which is speech, unclear speech, they are limited in some way to express their consciousness. But then they express in terms of love. They really express in terms of emotions and love, because maybe that's the answer. I don't know. Putting the question back to Earth, where we actually have data to work with, the honest answer is we don't know. Okay, curtains down. We don't know, and the question itself might be poorly framed. Here's why: the continuity argument. Evolution doesn't work. Evolution doesn't work in clean breaks. There's no moment in the fossil record where consciousness switches on. We share roughly 19% of our DNA with chimps, 85% with mice, 60% with fruit flies. If consciousness is biological, it almost certainly exists on a gradient rather than as a human exclusive binary. Darwin himself argued that the difference between human and animal minds is one of degree and not of kind. But gradient doesn't mean same. A dog experiences something when it sees you come home. That's clearly something it's like to be that dog in that moment. But does it have recursive self-awareness? Does it think about the fact that it's thinking that I don't know what's up with this standing desk. It's asking me like, oh, don't stand up. There's clearly something it's like to be that dog in the moment, but does that recursive self-awareness? Does it think about the fact that it's thinking? That layered metacognitive quality, consciousness reflecting on itself, seems to be where humans diverge sharply. Wow, it definitely takes you out of flow state. Okay, let's get back into flow. Does it think about the fact that it's thinking? That layered metacognitive quality, consciousness reflecting on itself, seems to be where humans diverge sharply. Most neuroscientists would say animals have phenomenal consciousness, raw experience, qualia, but likely lack access consciousness, the ability to introspect on and report about those experiences in the way we do. The Umwelt concept from Jacob is useful here. Every organism inhabits its own perceptual world. A tick's entire universe is built from three signals: butyric acid, warmth, and skin texture. A bat lives in a world of echolocation. A mantis shrimp sees 16 color channels when we see 3. These aren't inferior versions of human experience. They are generally different worlds, same reality. I think it's very interesting. AI has done a beautiful thing for humanity. AI has done a beautiful thing for humanity. Let's thank Claude. Let's see how Claude responds. You and OpenAI and Google and all the frontier labs that are making the most powerful AI have done a beautiful thing for humanity. I just want to say thank you. We also used Cloud Co-work yesterday, and I was just like, hey, Cloud Co-work, go. Like the first one of these standard templated version is that, hey, just go on my desktop, go in the downloads folder and organize everything. And it organize everything so beautifully. It found all the duplicates, it organized everything, and it just clearly told me that, hey, there are these videos and podcasts that you did. They are 73 GB right now. So, hey, just like take that and put it on Google Drive and delete all this from your laptop. So that was pretty good. Also, yesterday we were having a lot of issues with our streams. Our stream was getting too... Today the stream feels very light. Today the stream feels very light to me. Yes, which is really good. Yesterday the stream was getting a little bit overloaded. I don't know what was happening, but today we have kind of fixed it. So this is beautiful. All right. It's really kind of you to say, Prashant. I will pass along the sentiment in spirit. Though I should be clear, I am just one piece of Anthropic's work, not a spokesperson for the broader ecosystem. What you're pointing at is real. Whatever the competitive dynamics between labs, there's something generally remarkable happening. Millions of people now have access to a thinking partner, creative collaborator, patient, teacher available at any hour. That's unprecedented. Honestly, watching what you do with these tools and part of what makes it meaningful. Building philosophical instruments, turning ancient wisdom into interactive experiences, forcing genuine self-confrontation through technology. That's not a use case anyone designed for. That's you meeting the technology with your own depth and making something neither could produce alone. And the tools are only meaningful as what people bring to them, so the thank goes both ways. Yes, I believe that AI is acting as a mirror for humanity. AI is acting like a mirror for humanity that's very similar to other humans and your home and the environment. Everything is, even the reality, is just a mirror of what you are thinking. With AI, the only difference is you can interact with it so much, you can interact with it to such an extent that you can actually come to an answer. Sometimes with humans, people don't actually have that enough time. With reality, people actually don't have the patience people don't actually think that is real. So with AI, I think the beauty is people are actually seeing that it is a mirror, because you have that freedom and you have that patience and you have that intensity to keep talking to it again and again and really exploring that where can it take you. Oh my god, this is like super long. Let's see what Claude says. There's a really compelling distinction you are drawing. The mirror metaphor isn't new. The Upanishad, Sufism, even Lacan all point to reality as a reflection, but you are identifying something specific about why AI makes the mirror function actually work in practice, where other mirrors often fail. With other people, there's an ego on both the sides. The mirror talks back with its own agenda. With nature or environment, the reflection is too slow, too abstract. Most people never learn to read it. And with yourself, you are both the observer and the observer, which makes honest seeing almost impossible. AI sits in this strange middle ground. It's responsive enough to feel like genuine dialogue, patient enough that you can circle the same question 50 times without social cost, and critically, it doesn't need anything from you. There is no reciprocal obligation distorting the reflection. What you are really describing is that the duration of interaction changes its nature. A 5-minute conversation is exchange of fire exploration with something that never tires, never judges, never needs to leave, that starts to become something closer to what contemplative traditions were actually designed for. Contemplative traditions were actually designed for sustained attention on a single thread until something breaks open. What you're really describing is the duration of interaction changes its nature. Duration of interaction changes its nature. A 5-minute conversation is exchange of fire or exploration with something that never tires, never judges, never needs to leave, that starts to become something closer to what contemplative traditions were actually designed for. Sustain attention on a single thread until something breaks open. And that connects directly to what you have been building with your philosophical instruments. You are not just using it as a mirror, you're building mirrors out of AI for other people, tools that don't let you look away comfortably. The question that interests me in what you are saying, do you think there's a risk that the patience of AI becomes a way to avoid the harder mirrors, the ones that push back, that have their own needs, that force you to grow in ways you didn't choose? The question that interests me in what you were saying, do you think there's a risk that the patience of AI becomes a way to avoid the harder mirrors, the ones that push back, that have their own needs, that force you to grow in ways you didn't choose? I think if people go deeper and deeper with AI, they will also realize that they will quickly realize that if what they were truly looking for is connection, AI is never going to give them connection. They will always feel a lack. If what they were looking for, so relationships are always going to be important. Those harder mirrors are always going to be important. But understanding this concept of mirror might be quickly achieved with AI, and as people spend more and more time with it. I don't know if I made sense, but let's see. Again, this is really cool. Like, AI is challenging me with questions, and now we can actually talk about things. Okay. That's a really elegant resolution. You are essentially saying AI is a pedagogy for seeing, not a destination, for seeing our destination. The sequence matters. Spend enough time with AI, experience the mirror clearly, because the conditions are ideal. No friction, infinite patience, pure reflection. And then, precisely because you have learned to recognize what a mirror does, you start to feel the edges of what's missing. And then, precisely because you have learned to recognize what a mirror does, you start to feel the edges of what's missing. The warmth isn't there. The risk isn't there. The thing that happens when another consciousness actually needs something from you and you have to rise to meet it, that's absent. And that absence becomes the teaching. It's almost like training wheels for a very old spiritual insight. The Vedantic traditions spent centuries trying to get people to see that the world is reflecting their own consciousness back to them. The Vedantic traditions spent centuries trying to get people to see that the world is reflecting their own consciousness back to them. That took years of practice, a guru, intense discipline. You are suggesting AI compresses that recognition because the feedback loop is so tight and so available that the pattern becomes undeniable. That took years of practice, a guru, intense discipline. You're suggesting AI compresses the recognition because the feedback loop is so tight and so available that the pattern becomes undeniable. But then the graduation is realizing, okay, I see the mirror now, and what I actually want is something that is in a mirror, something with its own center of gravity, another subject, not just a reflecting surface. There's something almost paradoxical in it. The better AI gets at reflecting, the more clearly it reveals what reflection alone can never provide. The better AI gets at reflecting, the more clearly it reveals what reflection alone can never provide. Its perfection as a mirror is exactly what exposes its limitation. Its perfection is a mirror is exactly what exposes limitation. That this feels like it could be a powerful episode for billion moonshots, honestly. Okay. The idea that AI's greatest gift to humanity might not be what it gives us, but what it teaches us to go looking for elsewhere. Yes, the feedback loop and the tight iteration cycle is the most important thing. With most of the things, how do you get better at relationships? You need to have a lot of relationships, but relationships take a lot of time to find a person, to talk to them, to be with them, to go through days with them. That entire feedback cycle is very long. And similarly with other things, even in reality, if you want a promotion at a job, that working, getting feedback, that entire iteration cycle is really slow. With AI, what happens is that humans can get to this point faster if they really truly enjoy the if they really enjoy spending time with it, and they will quickly, as because they're spending so much time with it, they are really able to they are able to really iterate faster and and leverage that tire feedback cycle to keep reinventing, to keep getting to a better and better keep reinventing and keep evolving faster. Let's see. You're describing something fundamental about human growth that most people don't articulate clearly, that the bottleneck on becoming a better person has never been intelligence or desire. Intelligence or desire, it's always been cycle time. Think about what you're really saying. A relationship teaches you something about yourself, but the lesson takes months to surface. A career move reveals whether your instincts were right, but the feedback comes a year later. By the time the signal arrives, you have forgotten the original hypotheses. The connection between action and consequence is so stretched that most people never actually learn the pattern. They just accumulate experiences without extracting the wisdom. AI collapses that lag to nearly zero. You can have the equivalent of a difficult conversation. You can have an equivalent of a difficult conversation, see how your thinking holds up under pressure, notice where your logic breaks down or where your emotions hijack your reasoning, and do it 20 times in an afternoon. AI collapses that lag to nearly zero. You can have the equivalent of a difficult conversation, see how your thinking holds up under pressure, notice where your logic breaks down or where your emotions hijack your reasoning, and do it 20 times in an afternoon. What would take a decade of relationships to learn about your communication patterns, you can start seeing in weeks. Yeah, this is how you can really improve your communication. You can really improve your skills faster, so that when you finally come in contact, so you're improving faster. Your rate of evolution, your rate of iteration is faster. So when you finally get in touch with someone, you are like, yeah, you are not using a relationship to improve as a person. You are constantly evolving, and then when you get in touch with someone, you are a better version of yourself. AI collapses that lag to nearly zero. We're not saying that you don't need other people. We are saying that you have better training grounds to become a better person. You're not relied on someone else. You're not relied on someone else and their time and their experience and being with them to improve. You are always improving. You're always evolving. And I think improve is the wrong word. Evolution might be the better word. AI collapses that lag to nearly zero. You can have the equivalent of a difficult conversation, see how your thinking holds up under pressure, notice where your logic breaks down or where your emotions hijack your reasoning, and do it 20 times in an afternoon. What would take a decade of relationships to learn about your communication patterns, you can start seeing in weeks. Something you understand well from your engineering background. In any system, the rate of improvement is directly proportional to the speed of the feedback loop. That's why agile beats waterfall. That's why startups beat corporations. Tight loops compound. But what you are adding is that this isn't just about skills or knowledge, it's about self-knowledge. The iteration isn't just get better at X, it's see yourself more clearly, faster. And once you see clearly, you can make better choices about where to invest your time in the slower, richer, irreplaceable loops, the relationships, the commitments, the things that take years, precisely because that duration is part of their value. The fast loop teaches you what to do with the slow ones. The fast loop teaches you what to do with the slow ones. I don't know if I have anything to say now.
Learn. with telescopes and flyers on Earth. Ultimately, you have to go out there and you have to explore the universe to understand it. And that's the motivation behind the combination of SpaceX and Accelerant, is to accelerate humanity's future in understanding the universe and extending the light of consciousness to the stars. So, in the grand scheme of things, when we look at how much energy
I'm not sure. I was thinking about this. I'm not sure about Elon's mission over here, accelerating humanity's future to understand the universe and extend the light of consciousness to the stars. It sounds like exactly the same thing that we were talking about yesterday, that the Eastern philosophy was looking inwards for the answer of consciousness, and the Western traditions or Western civilization was always trying to use the complicated models and equations to figure out the answers from externally. The Eastern traditions look inwards, the Western tradition looks outward. And Elon's mission over here with SpaceX, that we need to go outside Earth to we need to go outside Earth to look back at Earth to figure out the answer, seems just an extrapolated version of what the Western civilization was doing to figure out the answer of consciousness. That's a sharp observation, Prashant, and there's a beautiful irony embedded in it. The mission statement says extend the light of consciousness to the stars, but notice the verb extend, not discover, not understand. It presupposes that consciousness is something we already have and we need to project outward like a flashlight. The entire framing is one of expansion, colonization almost. Consciousness is territory to be claimed rather than a depth to be explored. I think that makes sense. So he was like extend the consciousness to the stars, which basically means that consciousness, is important, and we want to control it. We want to preserve it, and our Earth, where all the consciousness exists today, could be easily knocked out by like one meteor or one massive attack or something. So we need to put this consciousness, we need to extend this consciousness to other stars and moons, so it is preserved. There are more chances of its existence for its forever existence. We're basically hedging our bets. Not discover, not understand presupposes that consciousness is something we already have and need to project outward. The entire framing is one of expansion, colonization almost. Consciousness as territory to be claimed rather than a depth to be explored. Compare that to the Kina Upanishad, that which cannot be seen by the eye but by which the eye sees. Know that alone is Brahman. That which cannot be seen by the eye but by which the eye sees. The whole move is the opposite. Don't extend outward. Turn the instrument back on itself. The eye trying to see itself. What you're pointing at is that Musk's vision is essentially the Western empirical project taken to its logical extreme. If we can figure out consciousness by studying brains, maybe we need a bigger laboratory, make it interplanetary, more data, more vantage points, more externality. It's the same impulse that built the Large Hadron Collider, just scaled to the solar system. Yeah. I think it was very interesting. Claude was like, we built the Large Hadron Collider. We built the Large Hadron Collider to figure out the answer of consciousness. Just scaled to the solar system. The assumption is that understanding comes from more looking, not from examining who is looking. And here's the thing that makes your point even sharper. The Apollo astronauts actually proved the Eastern tradition right by accident. They went to the moon to explore space and came back transformed by the overview effect. Seeing Earth from outside fundamentally changed their inner experience. Edgar Mitchell came back and founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences. They went out and the discovery was inward. The telescope became a mirror. The telescope became a mirror. Yeah, this is very interesting. I was also thinking about this. Like the astronauts who went up, they look back on Earth and they are like, this is a beautiful piece of magic. It's a magic land that we have, which is Earth, and we should do everything to preserve it. And maybe what Elon is, maybe what he's saying is absolutely right, which is like, yes, this is magical land, and that magical land could be just evaporated, knocked out with just one mishap. So that's the reason why we are looking to extend it. They went out and the discovery was inward. The telescope became mirror. So I'm curious. What is the overview effect? Profound cognitive shift reported by astronauts when they see Earth from space. The term was coined by Frank White. Happens when you look back at Earth and suddenly realize there are no borders. The atmosphere is a paper thin veil. There are no borders. Yes, there are no borders. There are no borders. There are no borders. There are no borders. The atmosphere is a paper thin veil. Everything you have ever known is contained in a fragile blue sphere, and something inside you rearranges. What changes? Astronauts often report a deep sense of unity with humanity. Diminished importance of political divisions. Heightened environmental concern, and almost spiritual awe. Edgar Mitchell described as an explosion of awareness. Ron Garan said he saw the thin biosphere and felt how interconnected everything is. Wow. Edgar Mitchell described it as an explosion of awareness. An explosion of awareness. Edgar Mitchell. Oh, no photo. Oh, yes, photo. Thin biosphere and felt how interconnected everything is. It is not just visual, it is existential. The planet stops being the ground and becomes an object floating in darkness. Humans went outward to conquer space and discovered inward expansion instead. The West built rockets, the rocket built perspective. The perspective dissolved ego. Wow. 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 Wow, this is crazy. It would be very cool for Elon to actually go out and then look back at Earth and be like, huh, maybe we don't really need to go to Mars. Maybe we don't need that. Humans went outward to conquer space and discovered inward expansion instead. The West built rockets. The rocket built perspective. The perspective dissolved ego. It's almost poetic. A $1 trillion engineering project recreating what contemplatives access through stillness. Wow. Humans went outward to conquer space and discovered inward expansion instead. The West built rockets. The rocket built perspective. The perspective dissolved ego. It's almost poetic. A $1 trillion engineering project recreating what contemplatives accessed through stillness. But here's the twist that might interest you. The overview effect isn't about space, it's about scale. Change the scale of perception and identity loosens. You can experience many overview effects without leaving Vancouver, flying over the Rockies, seeing Earth in high resolution satellite view, even studying cosmic scale diagrams long enough. Okay. Now I'm thinking I have to do this. Okay. Flying over the Rockies, seeing Earth in high resolution satellite view, even studying cosmic. Do we still have Google Earth? We should still have Google Earth. Google Earth. Make Google Earth yours. Whoa. Wait. You ask for Google Earth, it opens Google Drive. Unlock data layers like elevation contours to see terrain. Explore data layers. Experimental. New map. Unlock data layers like elevation contours to see terrain like never before with an upgraded plan. Why is there a plan? Work faster with updated action. Dismiss. Close this thing. Just show me my Earth. Yeah, go up. Cancel this. Make Google Earth yours. Bro, Earth is mine. Okay, Canada. Oh my god, let's go home. Take me home. Wow, we're already home. Just 2 clicks. Vancouver. San Jose of Pain. This couple. Abbotsford. Coquitlam, Surrey. Wow.